Programming partner, first gene key. Codon ring, the ring of water, 2, 8. Physiology, sternum. Amino acid, phenylalanine. The second shadow, dislocation. As you see it, so it changes. As the most archetypically feminine of all the 64 gene keys, the second gene key and the journey it represents contain a beautifully simple distillation of cosmic wisdom. If you wanted to describe the nature of humanity and the reason for our existence to an alien being, you would have to look no further than this second gene key. As the first gene key tells the story of the great masculine principle of energy and light, the second gene key grounds this story into the world of form. Even at the shadow level of consciousness, this gene key teaches us that there is a purpose to everything in existence. At no point in evolution has anything ever occurred that was not a part of a huge interconnected plan. This is the truth that resides within the feminine principle. It is the binding force for all the seemingly disparate cells and events within existence, and in this sense it represents the great motherly embrace that pulls us all into a single unity. Your personal resonance to this great truth of our unity determines the overall frequency passing through your DNA. Whether you believe it, deny it, wish for it, or embody it, the truth does not change. There is a force within the universe that choreographs everything, and it is found right inside you. The second shadow is the shadow of dislocation, which is an interesting word. It implies both the sense of being lost in time and space and of dismemberment. However, when you feel lonely, cut off, afraid, or dejected, you have never actually lost your way. It just feels that way. The shadow state is really only a human perspective rooted in your biological functioning. There is not a single moment in your life that is not perfectly in harmony with all creation. Neither is there the slightest possibility that you can make a wrong decision or take a wrong turn in life. It is all simply nuances in your biology. Your biology determines your perception, and your perception is the measuring stick for your evolutionary frequency. Evolutionary frequency refers to the current state of advancement of your awareness. Human awareness is following an evolutionary curve. It began as a primitive form of instinct rooted in our animal origins. Then it took a great leap at a certain point in history as the brain began to evolve, and we moved into this current phase as thinkers. We have now attained our zenith as thinkers and are preparing for another great leap, the leap into a new biological awareness rooted in the nerve ganglia of the solar plexus. You have to understand where you have come from if you are to see where you are going, and where you are going is into the awareness of the unity and oneness of all beings. It is such a paradox. You have never left this state of oneness, and yet the operating system within human biology does not currently allow you to feel this continual sense of connection. It is tempting to look at so-called primitive human awareness, that of the Aboriginal tribal groups still left across our planet, and dream of the return to that primal awareness that existed long before the human brain developed so rapidly. Most Aboriginal cultures do not live with a sense of separation from life itself, so modern human beings are often left with the sense that we have somehow gone adrift. We tend to think that there is something wrong with the direction we have taken, exemplified by the massive technological revolution that is sweeping us before it. But the rapid development of the human brain is a vital bridge to an even greater leap in awareness. Even so, the mind is our great blind spot. In evolving the way it has, it prevents us from inhabiting that older instinctive awareness, And so, across the world, a great fear has taken root, the fear that humanity might actually destroy itself. The fear that we are going in a bad direction comes from the second shadow. It is because we now see ourselves as separate from nature that we feel this great collective fear. Our perception dislocates us from the truth. This collective fear pervades our individual lives as well. The second shadow, along with its programming partner, the first shadow of entropy, pulls us away from living in a state of trust and connectedness, and also reinforces this sense of isolation through our actions. Actions that can come out of trust have very different results from actions that come out of fear. The former creates more energy for everyone, and the latter takes energy away from everyone. In your personal life, if you allow it, the second shadow will affect every decision you make, pulling you into an interference frequency. This means that you don't appear to be in synchronicity with life, so you miss opportunities that would serve you and end up in repetitive patterns that can be very draining for all concerned. However, the second shadow of dislocation is an integral part of the script for life. It actually allows you to experience being out of the universal flow, even though this experience is an illusion. Ultimately, even the level of frequency that courts chaos is a part of the overall fabric of existence. The second shadow allows you to witness your own helplessness as you seek to escape the feeling of dislocation and loneliness. As soon as you enter deeply into this shadow world with your full and honest awareness, it magically appears to change. This shift in your inner honesty precipitates a leap out of the mind and into a newer and far more expansive awareness. One needs to really grasp this insight. You do not change your reality through doing anything. There is a perceptual shift pre-wired into the DNA of every human being, and when it is activated, it occurs in spite of you, as an aspect of your biological evolution. At a certain point, your new awareness simply begins to open up. It does so gradually at first, but over time it coincides with a remarkable improvement in the quality of your life. As you see it, so it changes. In the earliest versions of the I Ching that have come down to us, there appear to be quite a few anomalies with the more modern translations and sequences. One of the most interesting of these concerns is the ordering of the first and second hexagrams. There is strong evidence that the oldest versions began with this second hexagram representing complete yin. The patriarchal systems that translated the original text must have swapped the prime yin for the prime yang. Esoterically and mythically, it makes far more sense to begin with the feminine rather than the masculine. Again, it depends on your frequency. At the shadow frequency, the masculine always comes first, which becomes the way of distrust, separation, and force. The feminine approach, however, is based on unity, surrender, and trust, which are hallmarks of all higher frequencies. Furthermore, one of the translations for this hexagram, known as kun, is the word field. This is a beautifully apt word to describe this second gene key because it represents the universal field in which we live. To move in harmony with this field is to be oriented, and to move out of harmony with the field is to be disoriented and dislocated. Repressive nature, lost. The two pattern nuances of the second shadow, that of being lost or regimented, describe the state of the great majority of mankind. In the case of the repressed nature, being lost describes the state of being out of alignment with one's true universal destiny. The repressive nature aptly describes the path of materialism and selfishness, which follows its own path without regard to the greater environment. Our true destiny is to awaken out of our selfishness to our universality. Those with no sense of the spiritual dimension to life inhabit this state of being lost, and the byproduct of being lost is misery and suffering. Without the experience of a direct connection to the greater cosmic forces, one has nothing within to bolster one in dealing with life's trials. Life itself seems to have no purpose. Without a cosmic connection within one's being, one will always flounder in the world. Reactive nature, regimented. The reverse pole of this shadow is the enforcement of an external rhythm or structure over the top of life. This stems from deep anger that has never been resolved. Regimentation actually describes many of the world's great religions, which put themselves between an individual and their direct experience of the divine. Regimentation can also describe science, which attempts to organize life into some form of meaningful and logical framework. Anything that tries to control life and pin it down emerges from the reactive side of the second shadow. None of this is to say that religion and science are wrong, except when they serve to obscure the hidden harmony that lies within an individual. The true meaning and purpose of life is only to be found within one's heart, in the mystical experience of moving in perfect synchronization with all that is. The second gift, orientation, mineral magnetism. The whole process described in the second shadow involves orientation, the second gift. At the shadow frequency, you experience disorientation, whereas as you begin to reach into the gift dimension, you become reoriented. Again, as was discussed in the second shadow, there is no question of any doing on your part as this shift in your process engages, even though it may feel to you as though you are doing it quite a lot. Perhaps you started going to a therapist who helped you to see aspects of your shadow, which in turn began to change your decisions and therefore your life. Perhaps you discovered a great mystical system or teacher who catalyzed this process. Perhaps it happened as a result of a personal crisis, or perhaps it just spontaneously occurred as a complete surprise to you. The point is that all human life follows the same archetypal pattern laid down inside your DNA. Evolution itself is drawing you inexorably along the path towards awareness of your unity and oneness. The gift of orientation has two faces. It either comes as a shift in your awareness that then affects your actions, or it comes as a shift in your actions which then catalyzes a shift in your awareness. Whichever tone your experience takes, there are a number of indicators that precede your permanently residing at the gift level of frequency. One of the key experiences that people have is an increased feeling and occurrence of synchronicity. Synchronicity is the direct manifestation of the gift of orientation. It allows you to peep through the keyhole of existence and place yourself in a wider perceptual context. Synchronicities cannot be forcibly created, but flow out of the feminine nature of the second gift. In other words, they happen when you are not looking. As your awareness begins to operate at its highest biological level through the solar plexus system, so you fall into an easier rhythm of life. You no longer feel dislocated, but begin to experience life in a more and more magical dimension. One of the other indicators of your rising awareness is to be found in the eighth gift of style. Through the chemical family known as the ring of water, this second gift shares a strong genetic link with the eighth gift, which presents as a new and original way of living. As you become oriented into a wider context, your real face begins to show itself in the world. Instead of being weighed down by your changing moods and commitments, you use them as a means of developing a new flair. You also begin to override the perceptions and projections of others. In short, you begin to enjoy life so much that this rising energy spills over into your life as panache, a unique sense of individual style that is inimitable and always fresh, if even at times a little dangerous. Your panache or style is the sign of another paradox, that as you come more into contact with your unity with all creatures, you also witness an enhancement in your own uniqueness, particularly through your creative process. The second gift has a special role within your DNA in that it creates a kind of attractor field around you. It not only unifies the microcosm with the macrocosm, but it also unites matter and spirit. A secret resides in the chemicals and amino acids for which this gene key codes. In every human being, there are certain minerals that have magnetic properties, and this second gift concerns the chemical composition and purpose of these minerals. These minerals in our bodies, and particularly those in our endocrine glands, appear to tell us how to live life in or out of harmony. For example, in the tissues of the pineal gland, biologists have discovered a ferrous chemical known as magnetite. This mineral has been proposed as a key in linking electromagnetic activity to cellular function. The fact that it has also been found in most animals suggests that all creatures have a built-in magnetic guidance system that keeps them in alignment with wider rhythms. It is through this magnetism that all life is linked, from the spin of the atom to the wheeling of the great galaxies. As the frequency through the second gift rises, you live more harmonically and the electromagnetic power of your aura increases. The more you let go into the feminine yielding quality of this gift, the more universal power floods through you. Your timing becomes more and more fine-tuned, so much so that if you find yourself out of harmony, the magnetic mineral transducers in your body immediately convey this to your brain. It is through the second gift that you can see the hidden agenda of life, to bring all beings into awareness of their unity. The magnetic attractor field around a person who is centered in the second gift exerts a powerful effect on all those around it, meaning that harmony is catching. This is why people who are deeply surrendered and attuned to life's processes can be so empowering. They can intuitively sense how surrendered or resistant others are to the great truth of their universality. Over time, such people bring others into their own personal harmony through the magnetic power of their aura. The second siddhi, unity, divine logic. The second siddhi describes the experience of enlightenment or awakening. It is the cornerstone of all the siddhic states, being as it is the essence of the divine feminine. The divine feminine pole has a great mystery within it, because in a certain sense it cannot be said to be a pole at all. The masculine pole is very simple and straightforward, but the feminine is beyond any sense of reason and understanding. The masculine principle is really an externalization of the feminine rather than a duality. At the siddhic level, there is no such thing as duality. Duality is destroyed by a strange kind of divine logic. At this heightened level of awareness, mathematics works differently than on the mental level. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, but always makes 3. The only numbers that really exist at the siddhic level are 1 and 3. 1 is 1. It is consciousness resting in its own nature. It is the ultimate state of yin or femininity, or, as this second hexagram is often known, it is the receptive. Words such as receptive, feminine, yielding, or mother can be misleading, as we tend to understand them as poles with opposites. However, they hint at what lies beyond them, so we need to consider them in a different way if we are to grasp what the second siddhi really means. This is something that can only be grasped intuitively. Thus, when the One externalizes itself as a manifestation in form, it has not created a duality, but a trinity. Every duality is really a relationship, and every relationship is really a three. There is a man, a woman, and instantly there is also a couple. The relationship itself. In divine mathematics, the number 2 is always an illusion. It cannot logically exist. If you can say anything at all about the number 2, you might say it is a bridge, a dynamic process that is instantaneously transmuted before it is even born. There are concepts that cannot be approached with ordinary logic, just like the quantum particles in physics that avoid our definition because they appear to be linked to our very perceptual apparatus. Oneness cannot be comprehended, only lived. Enlightenment is not an experience. This is a sentence to meditate upon, like a Zen koan. If you see oneness as an experience to be attained, or that may one day happen to you, then you are caught within that straight line between 2 points. The third thing is transcendence. It does not occur to you, rather it negates you. Ironically, transcendence does not take you away from life, as its name might suggest. It places you right in the heart of life, where you have always been. It unifies all opposites, ends all riddles, leaves all mysteries just as they are, and brings a sense of trust that cannot be described. One cannot even really use a word like trust to describe the siddhi of unity, because trust suggests duality again, that there is somehow a trustor and a trustee. This is the wonderful dilemma of the siddhic state. As do all the siddhis, the second siddhi carries a specific mythology when it manifests through an individual in the world of form. As one of the primary pillars of our DNA, the life of one who lives within this siddhi is of great relevance to our evolutionary history. These beings exert an enormous magnetic influence on our entire planet. Although it may sound like science fiction, the expression of the second siddhi in a human being actually changes the direction of the Earth as it moves through space. The second siddhi can only therefore be born in the world of humanity if our whole species makes a leap in consciousness. In order for such a leap to be made, we have to wait for a certain set of geometric coordinates to line up in the cosmos. These are the alignments that astrologers are always seeking to find and understand in the heavens. The second siddhi is mythically represented by the Star of Bethlehem in the Christ myth. Other cultures also have stories of great beings connected to the appearance or alignment of stars and comets in the heavens. This siddhi therefore tells us something about our ultimate state of consciousness. It is linked not only to when we are, but also to where we are. The Earth itself is on a trajectory through the galaxy, and at certain points in our time frame, it moves into alignment with other geometric aspects of the cosmos. The ancient Mayans, for example, believed that in the year 2012, the Earth would be in direct alignment with the hub of our galaxy, which for them signified the birth of an age of heightened consciousness. At such junctures in time and space, the second siddhi may well incarnate again on our planet, and in the case of 2012, it is most likely to do so through a whole generation rather than through a single individual. According to the planetary genetic time clock that is derived from the I Ching, we will experience another great axis point in the year 2027, as the precession of the equinoxes transits into the 55th gene key, opening up the potential for a genetic shift in humanity. Both dates, 2012 and 2027, are hugely significant within the time frame of the publication of this book, but many access points will follow in the near and far future. The second city is the original nature of consciousness itself, and it manifests as a highly beautiful plan unfolding in time and space, swept along by the currents of evolution. All such mythic journeys echo the journey of the earth and of our universe, and as they all begin by leaving the warm comfort of the mother and the home, so they must one day return again to that same embrace. This indeed is our final destiny as a species, to realize our state of oneness and unity with all that is.